I will save time by standing here. I have 3 minutes to tell you something about Fred Seitz and Sherwood Idso. Fred Seitz was the leading American physicist of the 20th century. He practically invented what we call solid-state physics, the science of metals and their electrical behavior. His work led to the invention of the transistor. I don't need to say more. He was elected president of the American Physical Society, the leading society of physicists in the United States, in the world, perhaps. He was elected president of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences. He became the president of Rockefeller University. He garnered something like 40 honorary degrees. He was awarded the National Medal of Science by the White House. He was a leading skeptic. He inspired all of us. He was the chairman of the Science and Environmental Policy Project and of the Marshall Institute. He sponsored the Oregon petition, which Art Robinson and Willie Soon pursued, which was signed by 31,000 American scientists, 1/3 of whom had PhDs. He's been attacked for his position, of course, by people who were not his equals by any means. He lived until he was 96. He died 6 years ago. It's only fitting that Sherwood Idso, a leading skeptic, should be the recipient of the first Fred Seitz Memorial Award. Sherwood taught us that carbon dioxide is good for us. It's good for plants, it's good for animals, it's good for people. We should thank the Chinese for putting more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. You'll hear from Sherwood in a video which he recorded, and then you'll hear a few words from his son, Craig Idso, who is my co-author, along with Bob Carter of the NIPCC series, Climate Change Reconsidered, published by the Heartland Institute. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sherwood Idso, and I am extremely pleased to accept the very first Frederick Seitz Memorial Award, which is sponsored by the Science and Environmental Policy Project. I'm sorry I'm not able to be with you in Las Vegas today, but I hope that my following few remarks may atone for my absence. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming and for your own contributions to the effort to put sound science at the center of the global debate over potential climate change and its public policy implications, which is the great cause to which I have devoted the past 3.5 decades of my professional life. My involvement in the study of the climatic effects of atmospheric CO2 enrichment commenced some 13 years after I had begun my career at the U.S. Water Conservation Laboratory in Phoenix, Arizona. It started with the publication in a prominent science journal of a paper I had written entitled "The Climatological Significance of a Doubling of Earth's Atmospheric Carbon Dioxide Concentration," wherein I provided real-world evidence suggesting that the true degree of warming likely to be caused by a doubling of the air's CO2 content would be a full order of magnitude less than that which was being predicted by the climate alarmists of that day. And I subsequently wrote paper after paper exploring various aspects of the subject, based on the results of a number of what I called natural experiments, where I employed different sets of temperature data driven by different phenomena in different parts of the world which all led to essentially the same conclusion. Also, on my own time, I wrote and self-published 2 books on the subject, Carbon Dioxide, Friend or Foe in 1982, and Carbon Dioxide and Global Change, Earth in Transition in 1989, neither of which endeared me to the scientific establishment. In fact, I subsequently learned from 2 people who were present at a special meeting of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences that many of that group wanted to censure me for what I had written, but that a couple of cooler heads ultimately prevailed and convinced the group not to do so. And so I continued my study of the sensitive subject, but not so sensitively, actually expanding its scope to include the biological effects of atmospheric CO2 enrichment, nearly all of which have been proven to be positive. As but one example, in the longest such study ever conducted, my colleagues and I grew some initially very small sour orange tree seedlings out of doors in clear plastic wall open-top chambers for 17 years, finding along the way and at the study's conclusion, when the trees towered above us, that the 70% increase in the CO2 content of the CO2-enriched chambers increased the woody biomass production of the trees by essentially the same percentage, while the cumulative amount of fruit produced over the duration of the experiment was increased by some 85% due to the elevated CO2. And as a modest nutrition bonus, the vitamin C content of the juice of the fruit rose by 7%. Jumping ahead just a bit, I retired from my 35-year career at the U.S. Water Conservation Lab in late 2001 in order to join my son, Craig Idso, in producing the weekly internet postings of the Center for the Study of Carbon Dioxide and Global Change, a 3-man think tank of which he was the creator. You can follow our weekly writings there at www.co2science.org. My most recent contribution to the climate change debate was to be a co-editor of the recent NIPSI report, Climate Change Reconsidered 2, Biological Impacts, along with my son Craig, Australian scientist Robert Carter, and the indefatigable scientist for all seasons, Fred Singer. In conclusion, I again express my gratitude for being honored with this wonderful prize and for the immense and important efforts of all of you. May God grant us the ability to persevere in this great work in which each of us is anxiously engaged.